What's happening, friends? Back with my friend Clark Kavai from Pono Property Management and Elite Pacific Property Management. And I wanted him to talk about renting and renters. And I always get this question, a lot of us always get this question from folks that are either not ready to buy yet, or maybe they're not qualified to buy yet, or maybe they're just coming for like 6 months and they want to start exploring the purchase process and they're not ready to commit to a house to purchase yet. And it's complicated, right? I mean, the rental market here is very tight, right? And so I try and give renters the best advice possible, but I'm like, I should just go to the guy that deals with these people all the time and ask him some questions. So the first question is, if I'm a renter and I want to get myself set up, I'm coming in 3 months and I want to get myself set up to, get a specific type of home rented when I get here, what are some things I should be doing to prepare, in your opinion?
Yeah, of course. So first thing, which is obvious to most, is everyone's got to get their finances in order. Same thing when you're buying a house. You just want to make sure that you have the best chance when you get the opportunity to rent a place that you don't have any drawbacks. Same thing with financing when you're buying or selling a house. So at the end of the day, the market that we're in is a very high price point. No matter if it's renting or buying, its high market price is very high. So what you're going to have to do is be proactive. You're gonna have to find creative ways sometimes if you don't have ultimate qualifications. So the best way to do that is, one, reach out to every property manager that you can think of, that you can find on Google. Each of these property managers has their own portfolios, and it's not like on the buying and selling side where you can see all past sale histories and everything for each property. So
I'll stop you right there. So this is an important, I think, perspective, is that a lot of times people ask, where's the best place for me to go to look for rentals, right? And I always tell folks there's no MLS for rentals, right? I mean, you can put rentals and stuff on Craigslist and on Zillow, but definitely not even close to all the rentals go on those systems, right? Because a lot of times they're rented prior to, right?
Yep,
yeah,
exactly. So each of these property managers, they have their own portfolios. So if you want to maximize your visibility to all these different properties that could come up, I would reach out to them first. You can find properties on Zillow, on Redfin, on Realtor.com for rent, but these are usually ones that have already been mass produced, mass marketed. So you're
and haven't rented yet.
And haven't rented. So they're actively looking for renters. So if you want to be proactive, and you can send in qualifications before they even have to show you the property and wait for you to fill out an application. If you can do that up front with each property manager, it'll give you a step up above the other renters that are waiting for those to come up on the market. Because a lot of what we do is we market, and before we even get to the marketing stage, we are trying to find renters proactively. And the reason we do that is we keep a list of what we call a prospective tenant list. And any properties that we have that we've had other tenants qualify, but we can only put one family in there, we keep them on a list, and we update that list periodically, and we'll reach out to these people before we market the properties, because it makes everyone look good. The renter's happy, we're happy, it's easy on us, we don't have to do showings and we don't have to do marketing, and the owner's happy because we didn't have to go to market, so it makes us look like the hero. So we are looking for renters to do that for us. And if you can do that up front, you'll be ahead of the game.
So what is that, I'm going to call it the pre-qualification process, because it's almost like getting a home loan. You almost also need to pre-qualify yourself to be a renter. What does that process look like? Like, what kind of information are you asking me for?
Yeah, so we do a lot of financial screening, and it's a pretty stringent process, but what you really want to know is the industry standard. And most of what the industry is going to ask you for is 3 times the proof of rent and income, 650 or 700 credit score or better. We go off 700 credit score. Some will go off 650.
It's pretty high, like way higher than you need to get a loan, right?
Exactly.
So if you have if your excuse for not buying a house is you have bad credit, you probably credit's going to be harder getting to rent than it is to buy. You can at a 650 credit score, you can get a loan sometimes, right? So
Exactly.
Okay, 700 credit score.
Yeah, so we look for 700. We will take 650, and we are flexible. We understand that people are human. Sometimes there are good reasons for credit scores to be what they are, and so we'll take that into account. We review each of these personally. It's not an automated system to where it's automatic denial, automatic approval. We're actually looking at these, so just know that there's a human aspect to it. And then we also look for 2 years of either renter's history or home ownership, whichever you can provide. So all of that goes into trying to find the right person. So if you can do that, if you can prove all of that, property managers will move you to properties as they open, and it'll be beneficial for everybody. If I have a good tenant in one of my houses that an owner decides to stop renting in, I am actively looking for another place to put them in because I already know what kind of person they are. I already know they pay their rent. I already know they take care of the property. Mm-hmm. So it's just a win-win for everybody.
And then the flip side is true too, where if you have a renter who's vacating and you need to refill that property with a renter, you may know 2 or 3 months in advance, and you can start planning out. If, hey, I call you and I say, Clark, I'm moving to Hawaii in 3 months, like I'm gonna need a rental. You already are thinking, hey, there's these 3 houses that are gonna be vacant in a couple of months, and you can start lining that up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually have 2 of those actively happening right now. I got a tenant moving out of one place to move into another, and they're not moving out for any reason other than the owner's selling. So it's kind of, it works out perfectly, but it happens all the time. And a lot of this happens without it going up on the MLS, right? So there's no, like Dylan said, there's no MLS for rentals. So you don't see this movement, but it's happening. So if you can get in with, make a personal relationship with property managers, it'll help you tremendously.
And then for perspective and scale, about how many properties do you manage?
So on the long-term rental side, we manage about 70. And so that's just our portfolio. So there's plenty of other property managers in town. Each of them have their own unit count.
But I would say there's probably not that many that are doing more than 50 units.
Yeah, for the most part.
I mean, some of them are like these mom and pop shops that maybe have 3 rentals or 5 rentals,
exactly.
Right? So that's one thing that you want to evaluate, is making sure you get in touch with the right property managers who have actually have inventory, right? I mean, exactly. So if you got 70, you're gonna have 3 or 4 or 5 coming on the market every month on average, right? Versus like if you have 5, that might be one every year that you actually goes vacant and needs to be filled. So.
Yeah, exactly. And we, at the same time that we have leases expiring and people moving out, we're also bringing on new properties every month. So we have a strong emphasis ourselves as a business to grow, and so we're bringing on new properties. So I might not have a property for you one week, and I'll have the perfect one for you next week. So it pays to stay connected with the property manager that you're working with, and just keep bothering them, really. We are working 24/7, juggling a million balls at a time. So sometimes you'll have to be the one to reach out to us. So just part of it, same way that we work on our end. So talk to your property manager, talk to multiple if you can, and should help you out.
And I want to reemphasize the point you made earlier. 3 times the rent is kind of what you have to have saved up. So if you're talking in Kona, 3-bedroom house is like $4,000 a month now, right? So I mean, you need to have like $12,000 saved up. It seems pretty similar. People say like, oh, I don't have any down payment money, so I cannot buy. Well, it sounds like you need a little bit of down payment money to rent, right?
Exactly. So,
but you don't necessarily collect all $12,000, right?
No,
you need first months and then.
Yeah. So the most we can take in Hawaii is first month's rent and a security deposit. Usually that security deposit is equal to that 1 month's rent. The reason that we say 3 times proof of income, and if you ask a lot of property managers, they probably just say that's what we charge, or that's what we look for. They don't really have a reason. The reason we look for 3 times the rent proof of income is because we don't ever want any of our tenants to have to decide between rent and groceries, right?
Right.
So we want it to actually be affordable for them. We don't want there to ever be a situation where there has to be some type of desperate need. So that 3 times kind of gives us a good understanding that you'll be able to actually afford it comfortably. We don't have to worry about rent being paid each month. You don't have to worry about your lights staying on.
That makes sense, right? Yeah. I mean, you don't want to charge somebody $7,000 a month and they have $8,000 on hand total, exactly. Right? And then puts them in a bad spot. Okay, any other advice for somebody who's looking to rent to set themselves up for success?
The only thing I would say is tell everybody you know, everyone, because it is a big island and it's a small town, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Dylan sees it on his side too, but there's a lot of deals that happen that aren't necessarily through a property manager. There's also a lot of owners that rent ohanas. There's a lot of additional dwellings that they rent. And a lot of these we don't have access to because as a licensed property manager, we can't necessarily represent all of these properties just because we have a license at risk and some of them aren't permitted. Hate to say that, but it's part of living in Hawaii. So there's a lot of deals that happen between the Coconut Wireless. A lot of people that are getting rentals that are through another person rather than through Zillow, through the major platforms or property manager. So just tell everybody you know. Everyone seems to always be trying to help each other out. It's a community thing, so reach out.
And then how important on that community aspect, how important are references?
References are huge. It's not necessarily just your financial qualifications. At the same time, I'm gonna have to deal with you, so I want somebody that, one, I like, and two, that other people have liked. So everyone can put on a certain face in an audition, in an interview. It's usually the best you're gonna get. So any reference that you have, I've had super strong references that have pushed a person from not being qualified financially to, we'll take a chance on them.
Yeah.
So having somebody that actually has,
especially with somebody that you know personally.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal, and not everyone will put their name on the line for somebody else. So if somebody is risking their reputation for your name to be put in a property, it makes it a little easier for us to take that chance.
I like that. Okay. Good advice, guys. So 3 times the amount of the rent you have saved up, a 700 credit score, have some solid references, and get on every single list you can possibly get on, which is kind of a pain, and we get some pushback because people are like, I already did it with Clark, I don't want to do it with somebody else. But it's like, if you want the maximum ability to find the property, you're going to have to actually individually go to potentially 3, 4, 5, 6 different companies, right, to get signed up and go through that same process, fill out their application, provide your proof. But really, it's one package of stuff, right? I mean, if you put it all together the first time, it's going to be the same for most. So
if you are well qualified, just come to me. Don't talk to any other property managers.
Sounds good.
We'll be good to go.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right, man. Appreciate the advice. If you guys got any questions, I'll put Clark's info in the comments, and he's easy to find online if you need him. And you can always ask me if you have any. You can always reach out if you have any questions. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Clark. Appreciate it.
Thank you.